Good morning. I'm Allie from Little Hill Homestead. My son is in the background getting milk to go with today's recipe. We're pretending it is Christmas morning a little bit early, and we made the most amazing, gooey, delicious cinnamon rolls. Here's the final product. I mean, who wouldn't want to serve that on Christmas morning? Of course, it's like December 5th or 6th. I don't even know what day it is. But we started these yesterday in a bread machine. They're amazing, and I promise you will thoroughly enjoy them. If you don't have a bread machine, it's okay. You can make them in any mixer. You can actually hand mix them if you're up to it. I just use a bread machine because it's super easy, and I get to walk away and not worry about it. If you do not have a bread machine, go ahead and put them in your KitchenAid mixer. Do the same recipe. But when you're done mixing it, you're just gonna put it in a bowl and let it rise in there for about an hour and a half before you move on to the next step, which is rolling it out and doing the filling. But that is our recipe for today. Stay tuned. You'll understand why I'm in pajamas with no makeup posting this on YouTube. Yeah, good morning. Okay, the first thing we're gonna do is put the wet ingredients in first. Then you put your flour, and then you put your yeast on the far top. The reason you do that is as it mixes, it's gonna pull the ingredients down. That way the salt doesn't touch the yeast right away and deactivate it. So we're gonna start with our, we have 3/4 of a cup of, this is just regular old milk. It's warmed up to about 110 degrees. So that's gonna go in first. We have 1/4 of a cup of sugar. That's just granulated sugar. That's gonna go in next. 2 whole eggs, you just drop them in there. Try not to splash like me. Then after your eggs, we have 1/4 a cup of melted butter. I do unsalted, but if you use salted, you're just gonna decrease the salt that we add by a little bit when we get to that point. So like I said, we used unsalted butter, so I'm adding a teaspoon of just table salt. If you use salted butter, I would reduce it to 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. The next thing you're gonna add is 3 cups of bread flour. So like I said, our ingredients are on the bottom. They have like wet, except for sugar and salt. Then we're gonna try to put our 3 cups so that it creates like a little barrier. You can use all-purpose flour. It's just gonna be a little bit of a different texture. I like the bread flour because it gives it kind of like a, I don't know, a little airier type of feel when you bite into it. So I create a well just in the center with my hands. Like I say, always, I washed my hands right before I started the video. And then we need either 1 packet of yeast or 2 1/4 teaspoons. Like I said before, I buy my yeast in bulk. I froze it in a jar that I already had. But I buy it, I think this time I got it at Costco or Sam's Club. I think it was $5 for a pound of it. So I do that. This little jar was like $7 when we were buying it in smaller quantities. So much better to go with the bigger one. And you can freeze whatever you're not, like I keep this in the refrigerator. And then the remaining amount I keep in the freezer, and it's fine till I refill this again. So I have a Breadman Plus. I got it at a thrift store. I think I paid $2 for it. It has a bread function, or dough function, I'm so sorry. A dough function. As long as you have a dough function on your machine, all you're gonna do, like I just set it to number 7. And what this does is it's gonna start mixing for us. And it does the first rise as well. So when we pull it out of the bread machine, we'll be ready to form it and everything. All it does is not bake it. So that's what you're looking for, is to pull it out before it starts actually cooking it. So in 1.5 hours, we will be ready to roll it out. I do this in the evening time, like we're getting ready to cook dinner. I'm gonna start this, and then after we clean up, cook dinner and then clean up, we'll be ready to form our cinnamon rolls, and then in the morning I bake them. So we'll see you in a little bit. Hey guys, we're back for part 2. We've pulled our dough out of the bread machine. It is nice and puffy and ready to go. We're gonna set that to the side for a second. I have like a medium-sized Pyrex. In it, we have 1.5 cups of brown sugar. If you look below in the description, I will have our instructions on how to make brown sugar. It's just white sugar and molasses, but if you wanna make your own, super duper easy, you can look for that below. So far we have 1.5 cups of brown sugar, and to that, you are gonna add just standard cinnamon. We've got 3 to 4 tablespoons, just depends on how much cinnamon you kind of like. We like a little extra cinnamon, so I'm gonna do maybe 3.5 tablespoons. But 3 to 4, depending on your preference. All we're gonna do with that is kind of mix it together real quick, just to kind of incorporate the cinnamon into the brown sugar, so that when we put it on the cinnamon rolls, it's ready to go. I'm a heavy filler of cinnamon rolls. I like them to have a lot of goodness, so you're not just getting a ton of dough and not a lot of filling. So we like to overfrost and overfill, but it's all good because they're delicious that way. So that's just incorporated. I'm just gonna set that to the side. Kind of clean as I go too. Okay. We're gonna take I have one of these shakers. I just keep all-purpose flour in it. I use it for any time I'm baking. I've already wiped down our counter really well. We're just gonna put this on the counter so our dough doesn't stick to it. And we're gonna just dump the dough straight onto the counter. Remember with a bread machine, it has a paddle in the bottom. Sometimes it likes to come loose with the dough and get stuck in there. Ours stuck, so we're good. Okay, what we're trying to do is roll this out into a rectangle. You want it to be, I don't know, thickness. I'll kind of just wing it and show you guys, but with a rolling pin, I just like to put a little flour on it so it doesn't stick. I'm probably gonna do about a 12 by 16, I don't know. It depends on what it wants to do. Sometimes this dough doesn't like to stretch out too far, and other times it likes to just give me everything I want. So we'll see what we can do. I love this dough because, like I said, it's super easy to work with. We're making cinnamon rolls today, but we also make orange cinnamon rolls with it, where you put orange zest in this when you put it in the bread machine, and then the filling has orange marmalade that we made it with some leftover clementines that we had, but we made a marmalade out of that, like a jelly. Okay, I'm terrible at getting the corner square, but it's okay. Once you roll it, nobody knows. So we went yesterday and we got our Christmas tree. So it kind of got us in the mood for the holiday season. One of our kids is in Canada right now, so wasn't here for us to go get the tree. But the other two, and my husband and I went, we said we were just gonna get a smaller tree. We ended up with a 12-foot tree. So it didn't exactly work as planned, but it's beautiful and we're gonna get decorating on that. But it made me think, like, what's a perfect make ahead Christmas morning type of a thing. So I thought, ooh, I'm gonna make some cinnamon rolls. This is just 1 stick of butter that we just melted a little bit. You can just bring it to room temperature. I popped it in the microwave just for a second so it got a little soft, but it's just 1 stick. Like I said, we always use unsalted butter, but you can use salted if you prefer. Whatever you got is just fine. So kind of messily spread that. Is that a word? We're gonna make it a word, messily. You just spread that on your dough. I'm using like a, I don't know, a spatula, we call it a child cheater because it cleans the whole bowl, but. So we got 1 stick of butter to spread out. On top of that, we're gonna add our brown sugar cinnamon filling. And you're gonna go as far to the edge because we're not gonna, some people trim off this edge. I'm like, you made the dough, you might as well use it. So we're gonna go all the way to the edge with our filling. Get it all spread out. Now some people like to use a knife to cut it. Some people use dental floss to cut it. I like to pre-cut it when it's in this shape with a pizza cutter. It just makes my life a little bit easier. I will start in the middle. We're making 12, so I'll start in the middle just so that I kind of have a visual. We want to do 6 on each side. I'm not the best at getting it exact, but it's all good. That one just pre-rolled for us, so we're good. Let's get the filling back on there though. Okay, so there's our 6. The people that get the middle ones are gonna be a little bit happier, but that's okay. To that, I took a little bit of avocado oil and I greased, this is just a 9x13 pan that we have a lid for. We're gonna take our cinnamon rolls. And so let's get the filling back on that one. And you're just gonna roll them now that we have them cut. If you wanna do it as one giant log, roll it all the way and then cut it into 12, you totally can. But to me, this works just fine. So we're just gonna roll all of these. What I like about these ones is you can make them ahead. So I'm making them the night before. They can actually stay in the refrigerator for a couple days. So say you're wanting to do these Christmas morning, you can make them on the 23rd before life gets crazy busy. And just keep them in the fridge till Christmas morning and cook them up. Super easy. Oop, that one's stuck just a little bit. And I realized I'm supposed to do 4 because we're doing 12. My math wasn't great at the beginning, but that's okay. All right, we're down to the final countdown over here. So it seems like a lot of my filling fell off. We're just gonna pop it on top of there so that it gets back on them. Could have maybe done a little less filling, but that's not how we are. So I'm just gonna sprinkle that on top and that'll give us a nice caramely bottom. So we have 12 cinnamon rolls in our 9x13 grease pan. All you're gonna do at this point is cover that with a piece of saran wrap and pop them in the refrigerator. If you wanna cook them right away, let them sit out for about an hour and then pop them in the oven. We're gonna make them ahead. So I just have a lid. You can do saran wrap. We have a lid that we pop on there. There you go. And then tomorrow morning, when I get up and pour my morning tea, I will pull them out of the oven so they have about 45 minutes to get just a little bit warmer, more room temperature before we go ahead and bake them. But for now, they're just gonna go in the refrigerator. So like I said, the filling was 1.5 cups of brown sugar, 3 to 4 tablespoons of cinnamon, and then that 1/2 cup of unsalted butter that we just kind of melted. And that is it. Cut them into 12 strips, roll them up, and pop them into a greased 9x13 glass pan. We'll see you in the morning. Good morning, bright and early. I just climbed out of bed and I just pulled the cinnamon rolls out of the refrigerator. Took the lid off. We're gonna let them come to room temperature. And at the same time, I pulled out 1 stick of butter and 1 block of cream cheese. That's gonna be our frosting topping, but I want it to get a little bit warmer so it's easier to work with. We're gonna turn our oven to 350 degrees. And we're gonna let the heat of the oven start to kind of warm up the stovetop, and that will help these rise a little bit and also help our butter and our cream cheese melt. Next thing you're gonna do is pop those in the oven. Well, wait like 45 minutes, half hour, 45 minutes for them to kind of warm up. Then you're gonna pop them in the 350 degree oven for about 20 minutes. While those are in the oven cooking, that's when I'm gonna go ahead and make the cream cheese. All right, it's been about 45 minutes and I just took the top off of our cinnamon rolls. They are nice and room temperature just about, and we're gonna pop them in the oven. Like I said, I have the oven set at 350 degrees. And these are gonna bake for about 20 minutes. I usually will flip them halfway through. I've said it before. Our oven is like 80 something years old and it doesn't circulate the air properly. So the back gets really hot, the front doesn't. So we'll flip it at halfway. So I'm gonna set my timer for 10 minutes. In the meantime, we're gonna go over and start our frosting. All right, it is bright and early. I'm still in my pajamas, but we're gonna do this anyways. So for our frosting, you can use like a KitchenAid mixer. You can also use like a hand mixer, just something that's gonna break down the cream cheese and butter into like a creamy consistency. So the first thing that I am gonna add is just 1 stick of softened butter. It didn't quite get as soft on the stovetop as I was hoping, so I did pop it in the microwave just long enough to kind of just help it out a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that. And we're gonna just mix it long enough that it doesn't have any clumps of butter, because if you leave it with any clumps, you're gonna find them in your frosting. 1 block of cream cheese is gonna go into that. Same thing, just mix it until it's incorporated. Okay. We have 1.5 cups of powdered sugar. I have a recipe that I'm gonna do another day for homemade powdered sugar. It's just granulated white sugar, and you run it through a blender or a food processor, and that's how you make powdered sugar. So that's 1.5 cups of that. Turn it on slow so you don't do what I just did. And then you need 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. This is our homemade vanilla from last year. We have more going for next year. It turned out a little bit weaker, so if you're using like a commercial vanilla, I would use 1 teaspoon. But like I said, this one turned out a little weak to me, so I'm gonna just go ahead and add 2 teaspoons. If you like vanilla, go ahead and add 2. Turn that back on. And our powdered sugar is now not gonna fly all over the place, so we're gonna just turn it on full, let it do its thing. That is it. Our frosting is done. Let me kind of show you the consistency of it. So it's just like a good kind of thick frosting. If you want it a little bit thinned out, it's gonna melt a little bit because of the butter when it gets onto the hot cinnamon rolls. But if you want to thin it out on it all, a little bit of milk or whipping cream, and that actually makes an awesome frosting on chocolate cake too. We make a Guinness cake that has basically this exact same thing, but you throw a little whipping cream into it and it's friggin' good. So that is our topping. We're gonna wait for our cinnamon rolls to finish, and then I will show you the final product. I mean, look at those. I took them out at 18 minutes because the tops were starting to get really brown. We like our cinnamon rolls just a tiny bit undercooked, so they have like that little bit of gooiness instead of the top being a little too tough. Not too tough, just crunchier than we prefer. Anyways, we're gonna take our frosting that we have made. I'm using just like a regular spatula, but I also tend to really like these guys. I got it at Michael's and I use like a 40% off coupon. It's like a Wilton's little cake decorating tool, but it gets over the tops a little bit better than this guy does. All right, this is thick today. We're just gonna go right in with this guy. All you're gonna do is put a big blob on top of each one. As it melts, I spread it around a little bit more. You can be generous because, like I said earlier in the video, we like lots of filling and lots of topping. So there's plenty of this to kind of spread around. I'll usually reserve just a little bit in there, and then as I spread it, it allows me to have just a little extra to kind of put anybody that looks a little sad. Okay, I'm gonna use this one to kind of scoop it towards the side a little bit. Him in the middle. All right, that's most of our topping. like this I love because, like I said earlier, you can make it ahead of time. Super easy, keep it in the fridge for a couple days. Make it on Christmas morning, 20 minutes. It looks like you've been slaving in the kitchen for hours trying to get these beautiful cinnamon rolls out for company if you have it. We make it, it's been 20 minutes. We make it every year for our boys on Christmas morning. We all wake up and we do a late breakfast. We kind of do presents and stockings and all that stuff early. And then once we've kind of settled in and we're over the morning part, then we kind of eat. So it gives us a quick thing to cook up. My husband will make breakfast potatoes. He's really good at that. And we just do some scrambled eggs and, you know, sausage or whatever we've got on hand that day. And all right, so it's starting to melt down into the crevices and get all beautiful. That butter that's in it, like I said, melts and it makes it do magical things and get all, you know, gooey down in there. Just do that, and then I'll go back over and anywhere that's got like a thick pocket. It's kind of just hanging out, and kind of continue to spread it so that it can melt a little bit faster. But these are honestly the best. We tried a lot of cinnamon rolls recipes over the years, and we had some big duds. This one seems to be our favorite. We've been making it for a while now, and so far it's turned out every time. I'll probably jinx it the next time it'll do something weird, but all right. There's our cinnamon rolls. Nice and frosted. I'm gonna try to pop a good one out for you. We sprayed that pan yesterday before we popped them in there, so they should come out pretty easily. Whatever word you want to use. All right. Ooh, don't tip over. All right. This usually will last our family for 2 days. They heat up amazingly in the microwave, but let me bring it up closer to you guys so you can see. The final product is this beautiful, delicious, fluffy cinnamon roll. I mean, they're huge and they're delicious. Pop in the microwave for like 20 seconds the next day and they're just as good as the first day. But let me grab a fork. I'm gonna tell you how awesome they actually are. I'm gonna eat breakfast in a few minutes with my husband. We're gonna do our daily devotional, but in the meantime, oh yeah, come here. Come here, like you could come into my kitchen. I wish you could, but like you can see all the beautiful layers of cinnamon roll in there. And this is just like chewy and tender and nice and moist, and it's gonna be molten lava hot, but it's consistently always phenomenal. Take that, mall cinnamon place. Plus, we made it in the bread machine, which saves us so much time, but your family will love it. I highly suggest making this. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day.